trying.
We are trying.
Almost as hard as Alexander Volkov tried last night.
Ooh, what a segue. What a segue.
I'm
You're
the
a true
segue
pro.
king.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, I agree with the judges that at 50-45, dude, Ciryl looked fucking amazing. He flowed so well. His kicks are what set him completely different. Dude, that oblique leg kick he throws right to the top of the thigh.
Yeah.
How many times did he land that last night? At least 100 or something like that. It was completely chopping him down.
One of those kicks, too, snuck past his guard, hit him right in the face. It was like a weird, like a T kick or something, man. It was a beautiful performance by Ciryl Gane. This guy is so fucking athletic for being a heavyweight.
He looks like Wonder Boy out there, dude. At heavyweight, man.
It's
crazy.
Like, the athleticism with Ciryl Gane is undeniable. And this guy is like a human specimen as well. As athletic as Francis Ngannou is scary. So I think that is the matchup to make next. Obviously we saw after this fight, Ciryl Gane came out and said that he's going to wait for that title shot. And I think he needs to. At 9-0, undefeated, you just proved yourself against Jairzinho Rozenstruik and now Alexander Volkov. Two contenders in this heavyweight division. You don't have to prove it anymore. I think he's one of those situations now where it's like, who else for him? Who else who he would fight to where you'd be like, oh yeah, that guy for sure. We gotta get him another fight before he gets the belt. I think he has solidified that. He beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik 5-0, and now he just beat Alexander Volkov 5-0. So at this point, man, Ciryl Gane's the guy. He's the guy. He deserves the next shot in this heavyweight division, and he's so fucking good. I love watching him.
I'm going to hit you with a curveball here.
Cool.
I think the only other guy that has a name out there for Ciryl Gane to fight next is probably Stipe Miocic. Because you think about it, you don't know what's happening in this August. So apparently Francis Ngannou and John Jones or Derek Lewis, it's looking like none of those fights are going to be made by the time this August 7th card rolls around. So, I mean, there's going to be fights to be made. Stipe, is he going to keep on waiting? Is he going to wait for that trilogy fight? Or, would they say, hey, Stipe, Ciryl Gane, winner gets the next shot?
So I love that curveball, and I love talking about this topic. But I just think for the career that Stipe Miocic has had and everything that surrounds it, I just don't see where the payoff would be for him to take on this number one contender in Ciryl Gane. I mean, he is a number one contender, but you get what I'm saying coming off these two very impressive wins. Like, at some point with Stipe, like, what's the payoff? You win that fight? Okay, now you get a shot, but you're taking a huge risk, and you're taking a risk not only for your career, but for your legacy as well. Stipe is still the greatest heavyweight of all time. It is 1-1 against Francis Ngannou. We will have to see what Ngannou can do throughout the course of his career before we even start talking about whether or not Francis Ngannou is the best heavyweight. But at this point in time, Stipe is. So, but you go out there and lose to a contender and not even the champion of the world, that takes a lot of stock away from your legacy down the road, whether or not you fight again. So my biggest thing with Stipe Miocic right now is I want to see him fight for the heavyweight belt. I think he deserves it. He's the greatest heavyweight of all time. Let him take some time off. I'm totally in favor of having Ngannou fight a guy like Derek Lewis or Ciryl Gane or John Jones, whatever. I'm fine with any of those. But when Stipe wants to come back, I don't give a flying fuck what anyone says. He deserves the next shot at the heavyweight belt. He is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Period. End of discussion.
100% agree. 100% agree. I guess it just comes down to how long are we going to wait for this Francis Ngannou John Jones fight? How long are we going to wait for this Francis Ngannou Derek Lewis fight? If it's not happening this next month, when? I mean, they're going to have to make that. I think September is lining up for Jan and Glover Teixeira.
Yep.
But I mean, is Amanda Nunes and Juliana Pena, is that a main event fight? Are people going to be clamoring to pay for that?
I agree with you, Gids. No.
Not close.
And again, no disrespect to Amanda Nunes. It's more so the thing that Amanda Nunes is so dominating and she obliterates anyone that's in front of her that you can't really sell that as the main event. You could definitely do Amanda Nunes co-main because then you're leading up to a fight that'll actually be competitive. But you can't sell a blowout for the main event. You just can't do it unless there's star power name like Jorge Masvidal against like Kamaru Usman just because he had such a big name in the 3 weeks, to fight him, yada, yada, yada. Like special circumstances. But no, for Amanda, no disrespect to the champ, man. I'm Amanda's biggest fan. Like I love her. But It's just not going to sell a lot of pay-per-view buys if she is the main event against Juliana Pena, who is 2-2 in her last 4 fights.
Yeah, to tie this all back into Gane, I mean, now he's going to have to wait.
Yep.
You know, because we don't know what's happening with this heavyweight title fight. I mean, you got 3 guys essentially lined up in front of you. Do you want to wait for this whole division to play out? Like, you could be sitting out 1.5 years before your next fight.
Here's the thing. As a fan of the sport and watching week in and week out, as we do on this podcast, this is kind of a message to Dana White. If you can't get this Jon Jones-Francis Ngannou fight done, I don't care about it that much. I mean, of course, out of all the fights in the fucking world, I want to see Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou, but it's not worth it for me to not watch what Francis Ngannou could potentially be. It's not worth not seeing the trilogy against Stipe Miocic. It's not worth not seeing this 9-0 undefeated savage in Ciryl Gane not get his opportunity in the heavyweight division. It's not worth all these things. So we either get the fight done or we move on. We have to move on because we have so much talent in this heavyweight division now, at least in the top 5, 6, you know, that it's not fair. Even a guy like 7 or 8, like Marcin Tybura, who's won 5 fights in a row in the heavyweight division. They're up-and-coming guys.
Curtis Blades was on his fucking streak before he ran into Lewis.
Yes.
I mean, he was deserving of a title shot as well, but he had that guy above him. He had Francis, who was waiting for a shot for so long, so... Yeah, it's kind of log jamming this whole division.
It is. And, like, I don't want to sit around. I don't want to wait. Ngannou, who has always claimed himself to be a guy that wants to be active, and I think he's tried to be active, and I think he's followed through with that. But now that you're champ, let's follow through with that. If we're not getting this Jon Jones fight, then to hell with it. Jon Jones is a fucking monster to try to negotiate with. And I get it. Jon wants paid, and I'm on his side. I understand. But it's looking like it ain't going to happen. So I want to see the heavyweights fight. I want to see these contenders fight for the belt. And we have too much talent and too many great fights and too many great opportunities right now to sit on this for another 6 months to a year. I just don't want it as a fan. Let's just move on. There's great fights that I want to see. It would be one thing if no one was entertaining in this heavyweight division. If I didn't give a piss about anyone, then I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's just sit on it for a year. Let's try to make this super fight happen. But there's a lot of talent here. And I love the heavyweight division. And I hate to see it, logjam like this.
Yeah, 100% agree with all of that. So let's say a few things happen down the road. Francis gets a couple title defenses, and it is Gane's turn. You know, who are you taking in that fight? Gun to your head. I mean, Francis Ngannou versus the most technical striker we've ever seen in Ciryl Gane. Calm Francis versus that. I'm not going to lie. That just sounds like a wet dream, really.
It really does. And here's something that's fascinating, too. As you said, a very technical fighter in Ciryl Gane. And how impressive is it? His footwork, his athleticism. This guy has had 9 fights now as a mixed martial artist. You've got to be joking. You don't see this kind of raw talent when only having 9 professional fights in mixed martial arts. He really is a specimen. Here's my biggest question, though. Ciryl Gane is so good that he doesn't get hit.
Yeah. What's his chin like when he does get hit with one of those clean shots? I mean, look at the first Stipe fight. His chin was on a whole nother level that night because he was eating some of the cleanest, most powerful shots I've ever seen a Francis throw.
Yeah.
Was it the most technical? No, but he was still eating them. I mean, does he have that kind of chin? Because those chins do not hold up.
Right. Especially in the heavyweight division. But that's my biggest question is we've never really seen Ciryl Gane, get rocked. We've never really seen him get hit a lot and get beat a lot. But the thing is Ngannou has got so much power that I really do believe that he could put anyone out if he hits him on the button.
Yeah.
But thing is how technical and his Ciryl Gane's got great footwork, switching up his stances and whatnot. Like, I don't know, man. That is the fight I kind of want to see now. Right. If I'm being honest, like. And here's the thing. Derek Lewis deserves it. I love the Black Beast. Like, he's one of my favorite heavyweights.
And you have to see that fight run back. Like, that first fight was just so horrible. We have to just get past that.
Which, that's like an anomaly right now. Yeah. Like, because, like, normally when you see just a piss-poor fight, you're like, I never want to see that again ever on my life. But, you know, when you got a guy like Derek Lewis, who's just so entertaining and fun, you got to run that back because you look at that fight and you go, well, it can't get any worse. And especially at 5 rounds, can't get any worse. And I will go on the record and say that fight cannot get any worse.
But if it does? Let's say it's 5 rounds of that nonstop, and then someone gets poked in the eye at the end.
Yeah. It could definitely
just
be
like the worst possible thing that could happen. I would not be excited for that at all. So Volkov now. before we move on from this fight, I mean, where does this leave a guy like Volkov? He was so close to being that guy as well, but then he just gets completely outclassed like that. Like, what do we do with him? I mean, obviously he has to stay in this top 5, correct?
Yes.
He's still a top 5 guy. He could still outstrike a lot of these guys. So, I mean, you know, does Rosenstrike already have a fight? I think he's already...
Rosenstrike
he just fought. That's right.
Yeah.
He just fought. So, I mean, you could do those two. I think that'd be a pretty sweet fight.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
You know, give them both a little break. You know, let's see that. Or maybe even Walt Harris. No, I'm just joking. Let's not
Let's not do that. Poor bastard.
Just beats the shit out of him again. Yeah, they just fought not too recently. So, yeah, it was a great fight overall. The Gane looks fantastic. I can't wait for his future. If he does wait out, and I hope he doesn't have to wait too long, but if you're planning on waiting, man, just stay in the gym.
Yeah.
That's all I got to say is because you're probably going to be waiting a long time, and let's not just be eating pizzas and shit. But he's a professional. No. I'm sure he knows what the fuck he's doing.
He's bodied up, too.
Oh, dude, he's jacked.
Yeah.
Jacked. And he almost looked like a guy that would, if there was a 225-pound division, he'd probably be one of those guys.
He might be able to, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Alexander Volkov came in at 265, too. He hit the limit, the threshold for the heavyweight division.
That's a guy that's always had to cut weight for that. He's just such a big motherfucker.
Well, they were saying on the broadcast that he walks around at like 285.
That's right. Rosenstrike does have a new fight. He's fighting Curtis Blades.
Oh, yeah. That'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, I'm actually excited.
Yeah, that's a top contender fight, too. I like that fight. I like that a lot. Do we know what date that's set for?
No, I'm sure it's a main event somewhere.
Yeah. Probably a fight night, my guess.
Yeah, I'm sure it's already out. But anyways, let's get into our church coin picks and move on to the next fight. I picked Gane for 2,000 church coin. Had a nice little return of 1250 for me.
Yeah, I picked Alexander Volkov for the reason of just I thought Volkov had the tools to be able to kind of stop Ciryl Gane, but man, I was completely wrong. I really am super hyped for Ciryl Gane now moving forward because this was a huge test for him, and he passed it with flying colors.
Looks absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I put 1,000 on Volkov to win and lost that.